This is a beautiful, cold, chilly, wet Thursday afternoon, and today we are looking at future tense. This is for the grade 9 English First Additional Language students, and as you can see, it is presented by me. Now, looking at the future tense, oops, I missed an animation there. There are three main tenses that we have. Present tense, what's happening right now. Past tense, already happened. And of course, today's special, what's going to happen in the future, which is why we call it the future tense. Now, each one of these tenses, as you can see, has two forms, and you've got the simple form and the continuous form. I'll show you a few examples of those now. But just a note here, continuous form can also be called the progressive form. I have seen both of those versions used in exams, in DBE exams, so please don't get confused if you see that. Let's take a look first at our simple form, and there you can see a simple example, right? He plays soccer, that's it. Very simple form in the present tense. Then you've got he played soccer, that's now in the past tense. And now we have the rising star of today. He will play soccer. That is in the future tense. Let's take a look at the continuous or the progressive form. You've got here, he is playing soccer, present tense. We've got here, he was playing soccer, past tense. And we have here, he will be playing soccer in the future tense. You will see the continuous form is an action in progress, whereas the simple form does not refer to a specifically happening now, but it can be happening at any time. Right, let's move on slightly. We've got here going from the present to the future tense. And the first thing we're going to have to look at is the auxiliary verbs that you're going to use to make things into future tense. And auxiliary verbs, just a reminder, are in fact what we call the helping verbs. Sometimes they are verbs by themselves, but normally they are added to the main verb to change its meaning in some way. But note here, if you're using the first person, that's I or we, right? You use shall as your auxiliary verb, and we'll look at a few examples of this in a minute. The second person is always you, and you. You would say you will. And then the third person, he, she, it, or they will. All right, just to specify there. Then let's take a look first at the third person. Okay, and there I've got this car runs well. Okay, perfectly straightforward sentence. This car can be replaced with it. It runs well with the pronoun it. Okay, and now we have it in the future tense. This car will run well. Okay, and we have it in the present continuous form. This car is running well. And then we have it in the future continuous form. This car will be running well after it's been fixed or whatever. Okay, moving on slightly, we go to the second person. Remember, this is you. And we've got there, you go to the classroom. That's in the simple present tense. And here we have it in the simple future tense. You will go to the classroom. Easy as that. Nothing complicated. Right? Again, we have here the simple present tense. Sorry, the continuous present tense. You are going to the classroom. You see the going, always for the continuous form, you've got that ing. And here you've got in the future continuous, you will be going to the classroom. And you'll see that in these cases, I've underlined all the auxiliary verbs, right? And finally, we have the first person. I've done this back to front on purpose. Okay, I sell jewelry at the market. Perfectly straightforward. That is in the simple present tense. Now we'll take it into the simple future tense. And you notice the difference there. I shall sell jewelry at the market, right? A slight difference. Then we have, I am selling jewelry at the market. That's in the present continuous tense. And that becomes, I shall be selling jewelry at the market in the future continuous tense. Okay, we're doing quite nicely. Let's move on. Now we're going to go from the past tense to the future tense. It's a much greater jump. I'm sure you'll agree. Okay, we'll start with the third person again. We've got here in the past tense, it was a disaster. That's the simple past tense. And in the future tense, it will be a disaster. Right? And then you've got, it was becoming a disaster, a slightly different sentence, to be quite honest. Excuse me. But that is now in the past continuous tense. And here we have, it will be becoming a disaster in the future continuous form. Right now, second person, and here's an old favorite of my son's. He loves to play CSGO. So we've got here in the past tense, simple past tense, you played CSGO. And now in the simple future tense, you will play CSGO. Now we've got in the continuous past tense, you were playing, and continuous future tense, you will be playing CSGO. Right? And now in the first person. And there we are, past tense, simple form. I walked to the shop. And now in the future, future simple form, I shall walk to the shop. Please note the auxiliary verb shall. I apologize, I didn't underline it. Then in the past tense, continuous form, I was walking to the shop. And in the future tense, continuous form, I shall be walking to the shop. Now, I'm going to just round this off with a little bit of active and passive voice, because you'll see this is where things get very complicated in the future tense. You'll understand what I mean when you see some of these sentences. Here you have in the third person, that's he, she, it, or they. And you've got here in the future tense, this is in the future simple form of the tense. They will paint the house red. Okay. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Also, the house will be painted red by them. Excuse me. Now we've got the continuous form. They will be painting the house red. It's all in the future tense. And here, the house will be being painted red by them. Doesn't that sound absolutely horrible? But it is grammatically correct. So when you come across sentences like that, that is why very often the passive voice is an inappropriate thing to use. It becomes horribly cumbersome. Most of the time, you'll be sticking to the active voice. Okay, once again, second person, still in the future. You will help me. Okay, perfectly straightforward, that one. Simple future tense. Right, and now in the passive voice form of this simple future tense, I shall be helped by you. Now, this is where it gets complicated going active to passive. When you're dealing with the future, you notice how the auxiliary verb has changed. You must watch out for that, of course. Then, here we have the continuous form in the active continuous future tense. And it's you will be helping me. And here we go. I shall be being helped by you. Once again, it sounds horrible, but it is grammatically correct. We refer to things like this as uneuphonious. Euphonious is when something is nice in your ear, and this is absolutely awful in your ears. Finally, the first person, and there, straightforward. I shall leave the book on your desk. And in the passive voice, it becomes, the book will be left on your desk by me. Please note again, the auxiliary verb changes from first person to third person. Excuse me. Then, in the future passive voice, sorry, the future active voice of this, I shall be leaving the book on your desk. No problem there. And then the book will be being left on your desk by me. And again, it sounds horrible, but it is technically correct. Now, that's all I have for today. But before I go, let me leave you with this lovely, simple task, which I shall also be posting right now onto the groups for you. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you found it very informative. And hopefully, we'll meet up again much later. Let me just see if I can stop this. You go. Goodbye.